In this episode of Podcastification, more about the Spotify podcasting deal with Rob Walch from Libsyn as my guest. Stay tuned. My name is Kerry Green, and I am the client happiness guy at podcastfasttrack.com, and this is Podcastification. This show is all about podcasting. How to do it, how not to do it, best practices, interesting news items that have to do with the realm of podcasting, and who knows what else. And I'm trying to do it all with a little bit of fun and some information to help you get a show going, keep yours going, or make it better. And if you like what's going on here on the show, I would appreciate it, so appreciate it, if you could leave a rating or review on iTunes. You can find out how to do that at podcastfasttrack.com/review. That's enough of that kind of stuff. Let's get you podcastificated right away. If you don't know the name Rob Walch, that's okay. I don't think he would mind. But I guarantee you that you know the name Libsyn. Libsyn is the world's largest podcast network. I'm just going to read you some of their stats real quickly here. They've been serving the podcast community since 2004. They have 10,000 plus podcasts hosted on their service. There are 18 million plus monthly audience members for Libsyn podcasts and 1.6 billion with a B podcast downloads in 2011. That is unbelievable. That's over 10,000 podcasts that are on their service. They have been hosting podcasts since before the iPhone existed. And Rob is my guest today. He has been so gracious to come and chat with me real quickly about the issue with Spotify now allowing podcasters. Rob is the Vice President of Podcaster Relations at Libsyn. Hey, Rob, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
I've told everybody already you're the VP for Podcaster Relations with Libsyn, and that means exactly what?
That means I get to talk to podcasters for a living.
Man, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it's part of it is answering questions for people that are looking to come on board, but also business development, helping do deals like we just did with Spotify. So that was one of the deals I worked on. Same with TuneIn Radio. So I do a lot of business development stuff. And then I also work to help bring advertising and monetization to the podcasters. So those are my hats that I wear.
Yeah, well, that's exciting because that's exactly what I want to talk to you about. Back on May 20th, which is my anniversary, by the way, Spotify made an announcement, and you made an announcement at the same time, that they were going to be offering podcasting as part of what they can provide through their service, and you guys are going to partner with them. Why don't you describe that for us real quickly?
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to be a launch partner with Spotify on this announcement. So when they rolled out their new version, which right now, if you're a Spotify user, it's only about 1% or so of Spotify users, US, UK, Germany, and Sweden. They're going to roll it out to all their users over the summer. But for right now, it's in a kind of a beta stage as they roll it out, make sure everything's working right. From a podcaster's perspective, if you want to get your podcast into Spotify right now, the only hosting company that was part of the launch was Libsyn. So to get your podcast into Spotify, you do need at this point, if you're not one of the Nerdist Network or Slate Network, if you're an independent podcaster, then the only way to get your podcast into Spotify at this point in time is through Libsyn.
Yeah, we can't even bribe them or anything like that.
I guess if you figured out who to bribe, maybe you could.
Yeah, okay. So I listened to your announcement where you and Elsie were talking about this, and that was a very fun episode of your show, by the way. By the way, give us a plug for your show.
The show that Elsie and I do is called The Feed. Elsie does all the hard work. She does the producing of it, and I just show up. So it's nice from that perspective.
Yeah, I enjoy the show a lot. You guys have a good relationship together. But anyway, back to the Spotify issue. You mentioned a few things that I wanted to get clarity on just so people who are hosting with Libsyn already understand exactly what it means. You said if someone has a download-only setup, they cannot get into the Spotify thing. Why don't you clarify for us, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, there's some tutorials out there, and a couple of them are popular, that have had, and I've told the people that created those tutorials, bad advice for Libsyn users, which is when you upload the file to choose download only. And I've said for years, do not do that. Do not choose download only. That is a bad option. One, just from take Spotify out of the mix, take TuneIn out of the mix, take any of the other destinations, SoundCloud and others that we have available, or publishing to WordPress and other things out of the mix. If you do download only, your show doesn't show up in the Libsyn directory. So you're missing out on the Libsyn directory. The Libsyn directory powers the Podcast Source app, which is an iOS, Windows Phone 8, and Android app similar to the Stitcher that's out there. So you don't get into that. You don't get into our Facebook directory either. So there's places that your show's not showing if you're choosing download only. So I've said for years, do not do download only. I know there's a couple tutorials out there that recommend it. It's bad advice right off the bat. Now, the second thing I would say is if you're hosting with Libsyn, you should be managing your RSS feed with Libsyn and not WordPress, because a lot of people that are doing that download only are managing with WordPress. WordPress is a world of hurt. If you're managing your feed on WordPress, if you haven't had an issue yet, you will. And if you're using the WordPress URL out there as your public URL, at some point in time, if your show gets popular, it'll bring your whole site down. That's why if you go into iTunes, look at the top 200 shows, you're not going to see any of the top, or a very, very small percentage of shows in the top 200 that actually use WordPress to manage their feeds. WordPress has a lot of issues for managing feeds. It's the number one reported issue in the iTunes support forums. Again, what we say is don't do the download only. If you're hosting with Libsyn, the best solution you can use is the Libsyn feed. It's more reliable. It's what more of the top 200 shows do out there.
Okay, so you're saying that they would take the feed that Libsyn provides and use that to submit to iTunes and other directories, rather than your website.com/feed/podcast.
If your feed grows in size, if that's what you're giving out, your URL, you can actually get more bandwidth usage in a month from your RSS feed, if you have many episodes on there, than you get from the media files. So that can crush your site. We see it every week. Sites getting taken down because of bandwidth or CPU usage limits is what the unlimited web hosts will tell you is you get unlimited bandwidth, but there's a CPU usage limit. It'll slow your website down. And then the worst part about it is if you're managing your feed in WordPress and you've got third-party plugins on your website, that can break your RSS feed at any given point in time. And the number one reason for using WordPress is third-party plugins. So you really have no control of your feed if at any point in time adding a third-party plugin will break your feed. All I have to say is if you're hosting with Libsyn, there's absolutely no reason not to use your Libsyn feed. And there's a lot of reasons to use your Libsyn feed versus using WordPress.
Okay, let's say somebody's listening and saying, okay, Rob, you've twisted my arm, you've convinced me. I've got that download only option set up. What do I do to switch that over?
Email me, rob@libsyn.com. I will send you a nice little tutorial that shows you how to import all your metadata off of your RSS feed, syncing it up into your Libsyn account, and then put a 301 redirect in on the WordPress site so that you're using the Libsyn feed. And, one of the things people will say, oh, well, I don't want to give up the control of the feed. First off, you never give up control of your feed when you're hosting with Libsyn. At any point in time, you can add in a redirect. You can have us put a permanent redirect in, or you can also add in the iTunes new feed tag. Now, if all of that is still not something you want to do, you can bring your own custom domain name over to your Libsyn account. So I have my own show. It's called KC Startup 411, one of my shows. And my RSS feed out to the world is kcstartup411.com/RSS. It's all managed through Libsyn, but it's my domain. So you can still have your own domain with Libsyn. It's a rock solid. It is the most reliable RSS feed that's out there.
Okay, excellent. Why don't you send me that link as well, Rob, and I'll put that in the show notes.
Okay.
Show notes will be podcastfasttrack.com/009. Rob, also you mentioned using the publishing solution that Libsyn uses. That's how you're going to get into Spotify if you're hosting with Libsyn. So explain that to us a little bit. For me, there's a little confusion between using the Libsyn publishing solution and what you guys call on publish.
Okay.
Are those different? Are those the same?
It's
clarify.
Okay. So how Libsyn system works is we look at different destinations for publishing. So it's not one RSS feed that you submit to TuneIn and Stitcher and Spotify. What you do is you have your RSS feed that you send out there to the iTunes and to Stitcher. But with Spotify and SoundCloud and WordPress and Tumblr and Blogger and TuneIn, you get your own custom destination for each one of those. So you can set it up if anyone got to see the video for the Spotify announcement, part of that announcement was the Nerdist industry saying they're going to release episodes 3 hours earlier to Spotify than anywhere else. And they're able to do that via our publishing tool. So Nerdist uses us. And they set up the Spotify destination to publish first, and then the episodes to publish to the other destinations 3 hours later. So this allows you to publish individual episodes at different times to different destinations, or to publish episodes only to Spotify or only to TuneIn. So Consumer Reports has episodes that are only going to Spotify, and then other episodes that are going out to the rest of the world because they have to put a little message in there.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now, I'm assuming you do that in your Libsyn dashboard. If anyone's a Libsyn user, you know what this looks like. You go into content, add new, and then it looks like basically set of input forms where you put in a blog post, so to speak, and you choose your media file. And then up above that, there's destinations. I'm assuming that's where you'll choose Spotify.
Right. What'll happen, just to let people know right now, you won't see Spotify, you won't see TuneIn under your destinations as ones to add, because we're rolling it out. So right now, if you want to get into Spotify, you have to email me, rob@libsyn.com. Say you want your show added to Spotify. You need to make sure you're using our publishing tools, because I'm not going to add a destination if you don't have any metadata in there. So you need to publish. So you have to be publishing with our publishing tools. That means you have to be adding a title, a description, uploading the file, choosing it to add as an episode, and then publishing it. Now, you don't have to use our RSS feed if you want to get in Spotify, but as a minimum, you have to be using our publishing tools. So what you'll do is it's a destination. Now, if you choose, you can choose to publish an episode only to Spotify or only to TuneIn once those destinations are set up. If you want, you can get really detailed. You can say, I want this destination to go live at this time and this destination go at a different time, down to the minute. Or you can just add title, description, and click publish, and it'll publish out to every destination that you've had set up. For example, when I publish a new episode for my main show, which is Today in iOS, I usually publish at 2 or 3 in the morning. I publish to all my destinations right away, except for Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And for Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, I set up a custom message to go out to each of them, but I set it up to go at noon, because if you want to hit social media, hitting at 2 in the morning, you're not going to get as much bang for your buck as you have hitting at noon.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I set up those destinations to go at a different time to work, I think, better in social media.
Okay, what's the time frame in which you think the Spotify and you mentioned TuneIn also are going to roll out?
Spotify right now, we're waiting to hear from them on when we can add the next group of shows. So I have a call with them Tuesday the 2nd, and hopefully I'll have a better idea at that point when we're going to be able to add the next round of shows. I've got a nice list of people that have already emailed me saying, yes, I want my show included. So we're going to go over that with them. When it's going to be open to everyone, it's going to be sometime this summer. I just don't know. Okay. I don't know the date. They don't know the date yet because they're rolling it out over multiple. They're going to up the percentage of people who have access and other things. But if you want to get in right now, best thing to do is email me, rob@libsyn.com, and I'll put you in the list, and I'll show your show to them on the next round, and then they'll say, yes, let's go add it. Here's how many shows we want to add in the next group. I don't know the exact date on when that next group is going to go in, and won't know that probably till sometime next week.
Okay, that's great. So people who are like the ones who have to rush right out and buy the next iPhone are the ones who are going to email you and say, hey, I want my show in, get me on the list. I can't stand the waiting. But eventually, if everybody's patient, if they're on the Libsyn publishing tools, they're going to have the option eventually.
Eventually. And then what you'll see, even for the people that are early too, when we turn the Spotify destination on, you'll see a destination that looks similar to setting up just like the RSS feed destination looks. You'll fill out information, but there's one difference at the bottom. There'll be a checkbox for you to accept the terms and conditions for Spotify to have your show included. It just goes, basically you're stating that you own the copyright information for what's on your show, because that's something Spotify is very concerned about. They won't want add shows that are people that are pirating content, have music, RIA music and stuff in their shows. So they want to make sure that you own the copyrights to the content that you're going to make available to them. You're saying that you do. And then there's a few other terms. You're saying you understand that this is a promotion play, not a monetization play, that you understand that you're not going to get paid for being in there, but it's a great exposure opportunity.
Yeah.
And there's a few others, and just read through that, click accept, click save, And then how it works is their system will then see that there's a new show available and automatically pull your show into their system.
Yeah, it sounds really user-friendly, so I appreciate that immensely. One last thing I wanted to talk about on this is the issue of ads. People who do Spotify on the free version get ads thrown in between songs and all that. And I'm sure there's some podcasters worried, is my show going to be cut in half and an ad inserted and all that kind of stuff. So talk to us about that.
They're not going to cut any shows and insert ads in the middle. They'll have ads before and after. But even for hardcore history, which is 4 hours long in an episode, they're not going to cut it up and put ads in it. They're not going to cut it up and take your ads out either. So if you have an Audible ad in there, even if someone's listening through the ad-free premium version of Spotify, your ad will still play in the podcast.
Yeah, great. Now, Rob, I totally appreciate your time. Anything else you want to plug here while you got the ear of my listeners?
No, I'd say check out the feed. You can listen to the bonus episode. Search for Libsyn in iTunes to find that, or go to the feed.libsyn.com and you can check it out. Again, if you have a podcast that's hosted with Libsyn, or if you want to move your podcast over to Libsyn so you can get into Spotify, email me, rob@libsyn.com. We can help you set up and definitely can help you get your control of your feed in Libsyn so that you've got a more reliable feed, and then you're ready to go with the TuneIn and the Spotify and other destinations as they come out.
Yeah, that's perfect. All right, Rob, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me on, Kevin.
You bet. Yeah, that was a great conversation with Rob Walch from Libsyn. So if you are a Libsyn user already to host your podcast media, you will eventually have the opportunity to choose Spotify as a destination through which your show can be published. Now, let me say this. I think there are a lot of us who have used Libsyn over the years, and I have to include myself in this because I'm one of them, who did not understand the whole thing about destinations. Did you know that? Did you know you can set up inside your Libsyn dashboard to be able to send to Spotify, to be able to, well, not yet Spotify, but in time, Spotify, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, possibly. I don't know if LinkedIn's in there. He didn't mention that. But you see what I'm saying? There's places you can set it so that it will automatically publish to those places when you hit publish on Libsyn. Isn't that incredible? And I would assume, and I'm sure it's true because Libsyn's sharp on this stuff, that even applies to when you schedule a post, that it will publish when you schedule. And you heard Rob talking also about how you can schedule those various destinations individually, so that it will hit social media at a different time than you publish on your blog, or it'll hit Spotify at a different time, even be Spotify only or Facebook only. Or man, that's incredible. That is incredible functionality they have on Libsyn. I'm very happy about that. Now, let me say this as well. This whole thing about Spotify is a thing that I feel really good about. And here's the reason why. You're going to have the opportunity to have your show right alongside the big name shows that are not only just podcasts, but are also big media shows. If you haven't seen the list, I mean, Disney's going to have stuff on Spotify now, video content, and you're going to be an option for people to find right along those things. You don't have to own your own TV station or your own radio station. Your podcast can go through Spotify and be found, I'm assuming, based on the search and the keywords and description and those sorts of things. So this is really incredible. This is good stuff. And I want to thank Rob again for being on the show. As I promised you in episode number 1, that's at podcastfasttrack.com/001. These were going to be 15 minutes or less if I could pull it off. I knew if I had interviews, I wouldn't be able to pull it off. But hey, we're still under 20 minutes. I feel pretty good about that, given that we did an interview and we brought tons of value to you. So if you want to leave us a rating and review on iTunes, you can do that. This has been Podcastification. Thank you so much for listening. This show is brought to you by Podcast Fast Track, where my team provides professional podcasting services without the time suck. Full production, editing, and show notes, all in one monthly subscription package. You can find out more at podcastfasttrack.com. Now go out and make it a podcastificating day. Are you still getting many of those FeedBurner redirects?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, people need to get off FeedBurner.
Oh, I totally agree. I thought most people would have by now.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, here's a problem. One of the more popular video tutorials out there recommends FeedBurner. And he did that tutorial many years ago. And,
Right.
Before everybody knew the issue with Google and the fact that Google can kill anything at any time. And FeedBurner's had a lot of issues the last couple of years too. Right. So FeedBurner keeps breaking.